What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Thank you so much for clicking that thumbnail over here. Pippi, love you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for your liking, your sharing, you subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you so much. We're back over here talking about R&B divas, and I have two R&B divas over here. All right. I have Sharon Bryant and Barbara Weathers. Yes, you should know these ladies. If you don't, if you're familiar with the band Atlantic Starr, then you are aware of these ladies. Yes, some more 80s divas. I promise you I'm going to go around and get into the 90s. I promise you we're getting there. I have a whole lot of R&B divas to cover over here. Now, I've been wanting to do this for about a couple of weeks, about 2 weeks now. And as I told you before, I always like to try to get into, you know, a vibe, a certain angle. You know, I just don't want to just go in and just talk straight through as far as their careers and everything is concerned because, well, it is what it is for me. I've brought up the names. It's up to you to go out there and check them out. And these two ladies are worthy to be, you know, looked at, you know, listened to. Now, I have to admit, I don't know much about either of these ladies. I don't know much about the band Atlantic Starr. I don't. Not much at all. But I will say this. The band was definitely played in my household, okay? And one of the songs that was played in my household a lot would be two songs that I'm definitely aware of, and that is Secret Lovers and Always. Now, it wasn't until later on, you know, towards the late 1980s, I remember my aunt telling me that Barbara Weathers was not the original singer in the group. And I was like, oh, okay, because I'm liking Atlantic Starr at this moment in time. I'm not really familiar with a lot of their music. And so then she would tell me when I heard the song, matter of fact, I know what it was. I heard a song by Atlantic Starr. There was an older song before Barbara Weathers was in the group, but I'm thinking it's Barbara Weathers. She was like, no, Barbara Weathers is not the original singer. Sharon Bryant is. And she told me that was Sharon Bryant who was singing on the record. And that song was Circles. Yes, that song was Circles. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, okay, she's not the only one. And I left it pretty much at that. Then shortly thereafter, a couple of years later, Sharon Bryant just shows up one day on the video stream. You know, I was watching BET as I was normally doing at the time. And of course, Sharon Bryant came out with this album in 1989. And she had a song on it called Let Go. And I immediately liked it. I mean, that was the bomb.com song, you know. But anyway, but here's a little tidbit before we get into that. So as I told you before, I'm familiar with two songs, Secret Lovers and Always. I was always under the impression that Secret Lovers was on the same album as All in the Name of Love, or excuse me, as Always, which Always was on the album All in the Name of Love. I'm thinking that, right? I was like, oh, that's not true. It's like, no, that's not true. That's a totally separate album that Secret Lovers is on. Okay, it is what it is. But here's another thing. I heard a song called Silver Shadows. I'm thinking Silver Shadows is Sharon Bryant. I did. Once I found out, you know, and heard the song more and more, finding out it was two different ladies, I was like, oh, okay. Come to find out, Barbara Weathers is Silver Shadows. I was like, really? I was like, okay. Now, here's what I'm trying to get at. It looks like to me that maybe when they was trying to find a replacement for Sharon Bryant, who I'm going to assume maybe just left the group. I know that they do have an song out, and I remember watching a little bit of it. But if I'm not understanding, according to my understanding, I really and truly can't remember why Sharon Bryant left the group. Because if I understand correctly, when I was watching that song, wasn't Sharon Bryant doing a lot of crying? She never really talked about it. If I remember correctly, somebody said something and somebody hurt somebody's feelings and so on and so forth. And, you know, she was just like, oh, I can't believe it happened like that. That's all I remember. And then I remember Barbara Weathers being upset because they took all her money from me. Oh, Lord have mercy. See, y'all got me. You pulling on me. I got to hit that allegedly, you know. They took all Barbara Weathers' money. So she was like, hey, I ain't got no money. I got my money. It's funny. Because I ain't got any. I'm out of here. But anywho. But now, obviously, I think I probably mentioned this, that maybe Always is the biggest hit in the Atlanta Starr catalog. I always thought that the band was probably more popular, and that's just me because I'm unaware of the previous singer, but I always thought maybe the band was more popular with Barbara Weathers because, well, I'm being messy, y'all. See, you know, let me find my tabs over here because y'all, oh, Lord have mercy, y'all be pulling on me. So I guess it's time to dish out the dirt on who dropped kicked who, literally and figuratively over here in these entertainment streets. I always thought that maybe, well, Barbara Weathers brought more of a pop feel to the group, and maybe they had more pop success with Barbara Weathers than they did with Sharon Bryant. But maybe that's just me. I don't know because I don't know their numbers. So that's how I always looked at it, because to me, Sharon Bryant has a more soulful sound, or soulful tone than Barbara Weathers, but they both sound similar. So obviously, if they were looking to replace Sharon Bryant, they probably did not want to change the sound entirely, because if they change the sound entirely, maybe they would change the overall, you know, sound of the group. But then again, they were on a different record company, wasn't they? Did they go to a different record company by that time? Right? The next record, right, was on a different record company. Yeah, I think so. So maybe that's what it was too. They were on a different record company by that time. They released the second release with Barbara Weathers, and so their record company probably was able to market it better. I don't know. It was just a little something that I kind of picked up on. But anywho, moving right along from that. I don't know. To me, when I think about Atlantic Starr's catalog, those guys pretty much stayed in their lane with this group. Like, they didn't change anything. Like, they kept the same way they wrote the songs and produced the song, because now I'm thinking about a song called My Sugar. And neither of these ladies was on that record, and I like My Sugar. Ooh, I found a masterpiece. See, when they kept the more pop sound, they went more towards the Barbara Weathers sound after that. Now that I think about it. But anyway, let's talk about their albums, because that's what we're talking about. Let's talk about their albums. Now, as I told you before, I liked the Sharon Bryant album. I did. Oh my gosh. Like, as I told you before, when I heard that song for the first time, I was definitely feeling Sharon Bryant. I mean, that Let Go song was like the bomb.com, as I said to you guys. I really liked it a lot. All I know is that I just remember the video coming out, and I liked the video. I liked the song. It was a song, the chorus, I easily remember, and I was singing it all that day. I did. And it was one of those songs where I'm like, man, I can't wait to see that video again. And I always look forward to seeing her video for Let Go. And it's interesting because I think it was on Polygram Records. Was it Polygram Records? I think it was on Wing, Polygram Records. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But I think she was on Polygram Records with that album. And I'm here to tell you, when she released that single, I was like, oh my gosh. And then she released a second single called Foolish Heart. And I don't... To me, the record should have been bigger. It really should have been. And if it wasn't bigger, it should have really and truly got her a second album. I don't understand why she didn't get a second album either. I just don't. You know, what's going on at the time with some of these divas not getting a second album? You know, especially with some good, strong singles that they had, because this lady, just like Jasmine Guy, the previous video I did, like she was in the pop charts. She was on the pop charts. Yeah. I mean, Polygram Records, Wing Records, Polygram Records was definitely promoting this record, or the singles rather. And they were doing a decent job, you know, as far as the singles are concerned, like getting it on the pop charts. And if I'm not mistaken, I definitely think that Sharon Bryant was definitely up there in those pop charts with this Let Go single. And when I say up there, I mean like the pop top 40, you know, which is where you want to be, you know, and she's definitely there. I don't know. I really don't know. Now, Sharon Bryant, she, I just realized something. I remember a long time ago, and y'all let me know if this is right or wrong. I heard that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, she was supposed to sing, or they offered her When I Think of You, like she was offered several tracks that were on the Janet Jackson's Control album, and she turned them down. Was it her? Somebody somewhere was offered some of those tracks, and they were like, oh no, that just doesn't fit me. That's not something those are not songs I want to sing. And I think it was Sharon Bryant. Y'all let me know, you know, if you know more about this than I do. Well, let's move on right ahead to Barbara Weathers. When I heard Barbara Weathers' record, the first one, I was like, oh, okay. Now, let me tell you something. I think I was pretty much all okay, because by that time, you know, I have to admit, Sharon Bryant is already out with her album, and I already took a liking to her. And I think the reason why I didn't really gravitate towards Barbara Weathers' album like that, because, well, first of all, the sound is totally different. You know, if you listen to Let Go, and then you listen to Barbara Weathers' album, single, The Master Key, then you will see probably what I mean by that. I like those, sometimes I like those up-tempo tracks, and that was definitely an up-tempo track by Sharon Bryant. And my gosh, she just looks so good, and she looked like she was having fun, you know, doing those videos. I mean, she's my favorite. She is. That's interesting. She's my favorite of the two singers, but the music, the Atlanta Starr music, will be my Barbara Weathers coming into the group or the band would be my favorite time of listening to Atlanta Starr, because I like songs like One Lover at a Time, If Your Heart Wasn't in It, Secret Lovers. I like Silver Shadows. Like, I like all of those songs. My favorite, though, song by Atlantic Stars, period, will be Send For Me. Oh, my God, put a message in the bottle, baby, and send for me. Oh, send for me now. All right. That's my record. I'm telling you, that's my record. And so I didn't care too much for Barbara because I think that by that time I was so caught up in Sharon Bryant that I was like, oh, okay, now, you know, Barbara, you done came out with your record. It's kind of like, are you trying to be like Sharon Bryant? Because, you know, Sharon Bryant is 1989. Barbara Weathers is 1990, 1 year right after. Another tidbit about the Sharon Bryant record, now that I'm thinking about it, is that, you know, The Ladies of In Vogue is on that record. Foster and McElroy did some production on Sharon Bryant's album. What else do I know about the Sharon Bryant album? I think that's it. I'm trying to think of some people who produced records on that album. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I will say this, though, about the Barbara Weathers album. Barbara Weathers' album was a tad bit disappointment to me in a whole lot of ways because, first of all, I think some of the songs on the album was produced by Maurice White. And I just felt like Maurice White of Earth, Wind, and Fire, he could have definitely hooked her up. I was wondering why he didn't hook. I mean, he could have hooked her up with some good music. But it wasn't the case. And then now that I think about it, I made the comment about Barbara Weathers leaving Atlantic Starr because her money was funny, but the guys of Atlantic Starr, the Lewis brothers, they worked with her on her debut album. At least one of the guys did. I don't know what that was all about. Well, anyway, go check out both of the albums. I think that they're both great albums by Sharon Bryant and Barbara Weathers. I think it's definitely worthy of a listen. The songs that I just brought up with Let Go and Foolish Heart by Sharon Bryant and The Master Key by Barbara Weathers are definitely some songs that you're going to like by these two divas. Yes. So check them out. I don't think any of them are in the business like that, you know? Like, I don't think any of them are touring or performing or anything like that. Oh, well. Well, over here, Pepe Love You, you already know how we feel about him. Remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. Remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next video as we talk about some more R&B divas. Until then, you guys, you know what to do. Take care of yourself.